Also, das sieht ja sehr gemütlich aus. Willkommen zum Kurs Smart Cities. Ich bin Gerhard Schmidt, hier tätig. Das ist die Professur, die wir aufgebaut haben über die letzten Jahre in Information Architecture and Smart Cities. Und Information Cities sind natürlich Teil davon. Okay, so some people probably didn't understand what I said. And therefore, if you do not disagree strongly, I will switch to English. Is that okay for everybody? Yeah? Okay. Good. So it will forever remain a mystery what I said in the beginning for you, but it's not so bad. I will not teach this course alone. Of course, Estefania Tapias here, she's just shortly before her PhD. She will be involved very heavily. And also Brigitte, she will also take the notes, the visual notes of this course. So if you miss a section, then you can follow it up on our website afterwards. Also, there are a few people who said they would join us, but they cannot be here today, so they might come next time. So you can tell everybody they can pick what they need from our website afterwards. Smart cities. What is the smartest thing you had in your hand today, or you're holding in your hand today? Is there anything smart you have in your hand? Pen. Yeah, that's could be pretty smart. Phones, I heard. Yeah, smartphones. Anything else? Laptop. Yeah, maybe. Okay. How about this thing? You know what that is? You can pass it around. Just try to figure out what it is. So smart cities, although you are quite young, even for you, you must have been in your teens already when this expression smart cities emerged for the first time. No, it's not older than 10 years. And now everybody's talking about it. So what is this thing? Why do we need this? Obviously, you are interested in it, which is very nice. And so we try to walk together through this whole history of the smart city, and then also where it could develop to, and what you can do with it, and what you can do inside it. Typically, when you talk about smart city today, you will see something like that. And sorry, I need to come to a surface that is fixed. This is what people associate with smart cities. You know, big maps of cities with colorful dots in it. This happens to be the traffic system of Shanghai, China. You see a mix of controls, people in train stations, of maps, of overlaid graphics over maps. And the people you are listening to and seeing in this movie, they are quite smart people. They are the leaders of the global tech universities, the technology universities of the world, and they're trying to understand what smart cities are. So the person who's explaining, he's the head of the Supercomputer Center at Imperial College in London, where I took this not so stable movie just a few days ago. Okay, so this is what we have maybe in our mind about a smart city, what it is, but you will see there are many, many more facets to it. Let's explore some of them. This is the content of the course today. So we go to introduction, first definitions, and teaching at ETH, smart cities. This is the course that you are in here, physically. And then we have another virtual part of it, as you are hopefully all inscribed already in the massive open online course. This is the second one. Then what kind of resources do you have? Expected outcomes, what we want you to be. Of course, designers of smart cities in the end. And then exercises and discussion. And Estefania will go in depth into what you have to do in the exercise. And Artem Chirkin, who just joined us magically, he is the one who programmed that program that you will use in the beginning and throughout the course. Welcome, Artem. Let's start. Some images that come to mind. You saw one already, some video, but this is another image. Somebody has seen that anywhere before? Do you know that one? No? Thank God, at least one thing new that I can tell you in this class. All the other things you probably will know if you follow the course or if you do the Massive Open Online course carefully. Yeah, please come. Yeah, have a seat. This is from the city of Songdo in South Korea, which is considered as one of the smart cities in the world, or one of the first smartest cities in the world. And smart cities is always associated with this vision that there are lots of computer screens. So these are all hundreds of individual screens, that there's observation by people. Here at the bottom, you see some people sitting in front of other screens, and then you can zoom in to certain parts of the city. This is an overview of the whole Songdo city and individual parts of it to control things that are going on there. So this is one expression of smart cities, as it is driven by technology, as it's driven by companies selling so-called smart city technology. But this one, many of you will know, this is Vienna, of course, and Vienna is also a really smart city, but you wouldn't see it in terms of cables hanging and all kinds of things. But in Vienna, there's a whole lot of smartness built into the system, into existing buildings, even into temporary buildings in here. That means communication between the parts, between the Internet of Things that is sitting around in these streets everywhere, and the communication between this Internet of Things and the people and the administration of the city is working. So that makes the city really smart. But it's not only cities that can be smart, it can also be villages. Maybe one of you is from the countryside in Switzerland. This is an image from Einsiedeln. It's a wood storage area, and people make concerts in there. But it's very smart because they use these pallets for transportation as acoustic buffers, and the acoustics in this storage room were perfect. They were much better than in many high-tech buildings. This brings us to a second extreme definition of smart cities. Some people say a city can only be smart if it would function even without technology. And this is one example for it. So a village can be smart even if it functions without technology, because the communication between people and things is so short that it can still be done directly. But if you move to city infrastructure becomes bigger and bigger, more and more complex to communicate among people and things, and then you have to introduce a new layer of technology and come to the so-called smart cities. In the same phase that you saw before, now it has come back here. This is an example. Nobody recognizes it. It was the first world record car by ETH Zurich. And it was also produced by your present president of ETH Zurich, Lino Guzzella, and his students, because they optimized a car to a way that it would use 1 liter of gasoline for almost 5,000 kilometers, if you would calculate it. But the thing was not only smart from the engine, but from the form. So you could actually push this whole vehicle with a person in it with the one hand, and it would just roll on forever. So this is a very smart combination of technology, of form, of shape, and of purpose. And of course, your smartphones, your pens, all serve a purpose. Anything smart in this room that you could see?
Screen.
The screen would be nice. I would love it if it was smart. But it's probably the dumbest thing in the whole room, because we have to tell it everything, and we have to control it, and wir müssen es pflegen. It doesn't do things for us. It's much. The fire alarm, yeah, that's pretty smart. It just does one thing, but I hope it does it right. But that's a good, simple example. Look around. Something else? What's that thing there? This is enabling our communication here, but it is semi-smart, I would say. Then in the back you see those sensors, these black boxes up there, and they're connected to our virtual reality system, so they're also semi-smart. And then there are things in the space that you don't really see because they're behind the lighting fixtures in the top. And these are other kinds of sensors to measure the CO2 level in the space. So spaces today are quite smart. You can make them smart without showing much of the technology. And that is actually good for architecture. This is what we want to achieve. And then the building here in which we are is also pretty smart if you add the pieces. But interestingly enough, the smartest things, they're normally small and they're relatively inexpensive. Whereas the huge things, they are very expensive and most of the time not so smart, at least in buildings. Okay, this I think, because you have been for lunch, I assume, and I also just found that last week somewhere walking out of one place, because in other countries around this time, everybody just gets down on the table and sleeps. So just hold on for a little while, because we want to go into some definitions of a smart city. I like this definition. It's from Switzerland. It's not perfect English, but I think it very nicely describes the not only technological definition of a smart city. It offers its inhabitants, for the first time, people are coming to the play, maximal life quality with minimal consumption of resources, based on an intelligent interconnection of infrastructure, such as transport, energy, communication, and so on different hierarchical levels, building, quarter, city. And the second definition of the word intelligent in there would be that intelligent in this context does not necessarily equate information technology. Passive or self-regulating mechanisms are to be preferred to actively controlled approaches when having similar performance. So remember that example of the barn. You could have installed a huge sound system with tons of electronic equipment, or you could have just put there these wooden pallets and it did the same job. So this is a positive definition. But people are also quite critical against or about smart cities. So this one here is a critical one. It's from Anthony Townsend. Anthony Townsend is a famous writer. He's quite he bites when he writes. And so here he says, for the giants of the technology industry, smart cities are fixes for the dumb designs of the last century to prepare them for the challenges of the next. A new industrial revolution to deal with the unintended consequences of the first one. Congestion, global warming, declining health, all can simply be computed away behind the scenes. Sensors, software, digital networks, and remote controls will automate the things we now operate manually. Where there is now waste, there will be efficiency. Where there is volatility and risk, there will be predictions and early warnings. Where there is crime and insecurity, there will be watchful eyes. Where you now stand in line, you will instead access government services online, and so on. So this is a more critical view and a more complete view on the totally technology-driven definitions of smart cities. And later in the semester, you can revisit these definitions once in a while and just check if it fits or if we have to extend those definitions. Because don't forget, smart cities first time come up in about 2005, 2006. So that's only 10 years. The first generation, which was only technology-driven. The second generation, which we are now entering, is about 2011, 2012, where more and more human interaction with this technology was happening, and where cities actually saw what they could do with this technology. First, they were just being sold technology as the solution to problems they often didn't even have. But then, using that for a while, they found out useful things they could do with it, and now actually the real smartness of the cities is increasing. So much for the introduction. Now we come to the two important blocks. What do we teach you here as people, physically, and then what do we do here in conjunction with the Smart Cities course on the massive open online course? May I ask at the beginning, who is not registered in the MOOC yet? Oh my God, so you did not get the message from Estefania Tapias? Because in theory, all I said now, you should already know, but you don't. Okay, so she has to give you exact instructions how to do that in the end. And so please hang on, that will be now an even more important part of it. Okay, but no matter where you are, if you have registered or not, here's what you're going to see here in this course. It's a long semester, and we have all these different parts. So these are the titles. This is what will happen in the lectures. And down here we have the exercises. You will see the people are sitting in the back. Your point of vision or your segment of vision is rather restricted probably, because you will see with all these heads in front of you maybe only that part. But there's more down here. So maybe next time you come to the front and you will see more. But we try to keep the very bottom empty, except for a few examples. So what you will see here in the introduction, that's where we are now. But next week we have smart cities, smart objects, smart buildings, smart cities. And you will hear actually a guest lecture already from somebody who's working with smart cities between Shenzhen in China and Hong Kong. And he will show how he visualizes these things. And also Artem Chirkin will explain exactly what you have to do or how his program is working. So that is happening next week. And just as a glimpse to it, again, smart cities don't need to be high-tech or don't need to look high-tech. This example in Myanmar shows a smart city because it's adaptive to the environment. So this is now in the summer, the water has receded, but when winter and fall comes, the water is rising to this level, and everything will disappear except for this bridge here, and then it will go back again. So this adaptiveness of cities, this dynamics of cities are very important for smartness. And this here we will visit again several times. Somebody knows what that is? Who knows Professor Werner Oechslin? Who you know? Yes. Actually, that's what he sent to me 3 days ago, because he's on the other side taking a picture, like describing the Vesuvius and Naples in pictures from his standpoint, like the description was made when the Vesuvius exploded and covered the whole city of Herculaneum and Pompeii. And what we see here at the bottom is the city of Naples, of course, and we can see with the little lights how it is creeping up the hills of the Vesuvius. And this is a phenomenon that is unbelievable, because here we have a case in history that repeatedly this mountain erupts, that repeatedly it kills literally thousands of people. Yet every generation again starts and tries to move up higher this hill. Although there's lots of space right and left of it, it just assembled there, and in the most expensive and most dangerous place, they try to locate their buildings. So this says something about smart cities, smart people, smart technology. If you combine them all in the same way, or in the right way, you might be having a safe living here. But if one of these components is missing, it will be just another catastrophe pretty soon. Then we come to urban big data, because that's connected to smart cities. Big data. Has anyone taken from your big data course Any one of you? You did? Okay. So you can teach then your colleagues as well. But urban big data, we explained briefly, and how it's important for the so-called stocks and flows in cities, the urban system, how you can explain the urban system by using big data. And here we have these typical examples at the beginning, big data from transportation, for example, how they are used in the city. Then we go to urban measurements. This is also important because you can only normally improve the smartness of something if you can measure how smart it was before. So if you want to get smarter, you have to measure to make it smarter. Estefania Tapias is the measurement master here at the chair at the moment because she's doing her PhD on that, so she will be very much in that. And also there will be the second exercise on measurement. Measurement has long tradition. Here we see measurements of geography in the old part of Singapore, and it was done in the old days by hand and with meters and by drawing and by writing numbers in it. Today it's done differently, and you will be introduced to the modern way of measurements. Then if you put together data, measurements, information, and the urban model, we can come to urban science, and we will talk about citizen design science, a new direction evolving now. And a wonderful example of that, maybe not so wonderful for the people living there, but they demonstrate that it is possible that people, citizens themselves, can build and design in a way that is attractive not only for them, but for the community. This example from the favelas here. We move to more complex systems because every city is a complex system. You will learn what that is. And complex systems are part of complexity science. And complexity science has many, many applications. The funny thing is, in complexity science, it sounds very complex and complicated, but in the end, you get out of these billions of data actually quite helpful and simple deductions. So this, for example, is done by Markus Schlepfer, and he's our big data and complexity science specialist, relating in this graph, for example, the height of the buildings and the size of the city. I have to open the door because the heat is rising. I have to fight against the noise of the bus now, which is not very smart because the bus could be electric, so there would be not this nonsense noise. Which is, by the way, something that you as a citizen design scientist would tell anyone who wants to build a city or introduce transportation into a city what to watch for, because you know it. Rather than building all the buildings with 3 or 4 planes of glass, you just say, change the bus. That would be much easier. That brings us to the governance. How do you govern? How you bring in your ideas, your smart ideas? How do you bring that into the city so that they can actually be built? This is not easy. Here in Switzerland, we have a certain way of elections, preparing elections, discussing everything, the direct democracy, which is the closest thing to being perfect in how to run a city or a country, I would say, from international comparison. But other places, they have very different ways, very rough ways. They are starting from scratch, or somebody just orders it on all kinds of different ways. So governance and participatory design and management of city become very, very crucial. And this is maybe a picture of the future, maybe of the past. Do these people standing around there, they're citizens? Are they visitors? Do they design this new emerging city here? Do they criticize it? Maybe they go there and move parts away or put parts on it. So this is a new way of governance that we are confronted with in smart cities. Then it's, of course, smart livability. If a city is really livable, like Zurich, normally, or Vienna, it's also normally smart. There seems to be a direct connection between livability and smartness. And we can measure this, again, measurements, by the city livability rankings. Who lives? Does somebody live in Vienna? No one. But Vienna, for example, is one of the most livable cities in the world. Whereas other cities that we find very attractive maybe to be there, like San Francisco, in the livability ranking, they are fairly low because there are many, many, many factors that do not satisfy the needs of the entire population. They might satisfy the needs of tourists or certain smaller groups, but the entire city is quite often suffering. Yes. Where's that? Who doesn't want to live there? You don't know, you don't. Okay, it was a rhetorical question. But it's Los Angeles, and I used to live there. And I don't know where there or there or there, that doesn't matter. It was just to imagine I would spend the rest of my life in this would be very difficult for me. So the livability, and then responsive cities. That's important because after smartness comes what we call responsiveness. Responsiveness means that we can actually bring in our own ideas into the design, into the management of cities, so it's connected to governance, but we can then really improve the city. And we can combine our intelligence, our cognitive system, with the intelligence or the cognitive capacities of these guys or women or robots, whatever that is. You don't have to take that literally, but Reinhard König, who's here part of the chair, also in Singapore and now also in Vienna, he is a specialist in that, and he asked this question: how can we combine the cognitive capabilities of humans with the computer power of machines? And that we need for the smart city. Because in the smart city, already now, the number of machines, of sensors, of robots is larger than the number of actually living people. And that will just increase much faster than the human population. That means in the next years, we have to come to a way to coexist in those cities, in all of these cities. And we can only do that if we understand what these robots are doing. People trying constantly to push more intelligence into these robots, but also we have to understand what people are doing and how they are thinking. So both are very important, and in these cognitive design computing, hopefully we can combine the two. Then we move to smart security. That's connected to what I said before, because the smart city can be totally destroyed or blocked very easily. You can just pull the plug and smart city won't work anymore. So you have to have many, many measures to fight this with resilient systems, that you have double system, triple systems that even work if they are cut from the central network and so on. But it goes in the direction that you have a lot of cyber civil infrastructure in the city. Almost everything is connected to the system today, and any good intelligent or smart hacker can stop or disrupt these services. And it's not known, and it will be even known less in the future, how this disruption of one service can spread throughout the whole city and just have a big disaster as a result. You see that quite often from power outages, the big ones in India that sometimes touch hundreds of millions of people, but it can happen in smaller bits and pieces all over our own cities here. So how do we connect? How do we make stable? How do we make resilient this smart and the cyber civil infrastructure in cities? Then smart mobility, that's, everybody knows that, smart mobility, but it's also connected to the cyber civil infrastructure. This picture, what a badly focused picture I took again last week from Singapore, from the highest residential tower in Singapore. And if you look at the transportation issues that this one alone causes, look at the sea. This is the South China Sea. 25% of the world's goods that are moving go through this harbor. Here is the harbor. Everything is connected from the harbor then to the transportation, to the factories in the city and beyond. And then all the buildings and all the transportation of people on the streets. So you have different transportation systems, the naval, the harbor, the people, within the elevators of the buildings even, that have to be connected. So it has to be made smart. Otherwise, they just block each other. You cannot do anything in a smart city one by one anymore. This is maybe one important lesson. Okay. And also the mobility and the security, they are not new items. For the mobility, I found this old postcard actually in the archives of ETH Zurich here. It's an electric tramway power station in Singapore, and the stamp is from can you read it? I'm too close. 1908, and this is some British emperor, I suppose, because it was a British colony at this time. But they had even a power plant to run electric trams, as you would say today. All of these things have disappeared in the meantime. Everything was wiped out through the war, but also through intentional planning. Only cars left and mass rapid transit systems and buses, but no trams. Now people are thinking of reintroducing that. So sometimes the smartness can have been there, it can disappear, and it can reappear. Okay, and then we have a feedback session in the end, what the next steps could be. The feedback will be from different experts, and that will be hopefully a very lively discussion here. Good. Then the MOOCs, the massive open online courses. This is the same content, but imagine it's transported into, not space, but we are the platform, and from this platform, everyone in the world can subscribe to these massive open online courses. And we have prepared many, many lectures, short video clips, exercises, and everything for people in the whole world to take those courses. This is just an example from our very first massive open online course already 3 years ago on future cities. And you can see 166 countries were engaged. And from the darkness of the color, you could see how many people in these countries took this course. But even the one today that we started 2 weeks ago on smart cities, same picture. That means worldwide, we have a worldwide coverage of people in all of these countries taking this course. Suddenly they are your colleagues now. They hear what you hear, and you hear what they hear. You just hear it live, and they hear the recording. But they can get into touch with you, and you can get in touch with them. That will be the innovation in this course. They produce wonderful images. That's one of the earlier courses. Images that no normal image book would provide, but these images were the answers to questions we asked them. In the first MOOC 3 years ago, I just mentioned, it was like a broadcasting. We had a platform, and from this platform we broadcast. That's the normal way to do MOOCs. In the second one, last year, which was on livable cities, already we got so much feedback from the outside, from people working out there, organizing in working groups, that we started to connect them to the assistants here. And Gianluca, who is Gianluca, there in the back, he was here at this time, and he had to deal with, I don't know, thousands of requests and emails and so on. And then in the third MOOC that we are doing now, we put everything together. So you are the tutors at the same time as the students. And the ones out there also can be tutors and students at the same time. If you haven't been visiting the course, I will not say no more. Estefania will do that in a while. But you see, it can be a very, very fruitful interaction. Because sometimes these people, they are between, I don't know, I think the youngest one is 6 or 7 years old, and the oldest one is like 90 years old, and you have an incredible spread of experience and knowledge from these people. So actually they might know much more than you or me, because they have this specific experience. And sometimes you hopefully will know more. So this is the evolvement. So here we are in the last MOOC, Future Cities 3, or Smart Cities as we call it. And next year, 1 year from now, it will be the fourth one, which will be on responsive cities. Some examples from what came out from the Livable Cities MOOC. We had an exhibition here in the Museum for Contemporary Art in Zurich. And Lukas Dreyer, is he here? No, I think he's working back there. He developed a game for all the visitors so they could recognize which city that was. And these were, of course, all pictures that the participants of the MOOC had sent to them. What are the resources? If you read the MOOC, you get all the resources. For every week, you get a short link where you can read things like, just eat McDonald's, fast food, fast read. Then you get an article, which is a bit longer, and you get a whole book if you want to. And but we also have some resources that have been here the whole time. We have written this Information Cities book. It's on the iBook store. You get it for free. It's interactive. Or if you don't have this particular software or hardware, you can just get a PDF from the library here. And the links are all in the MOOC. Or you can read whole books. This Anthony Townsend I mentioned before, Smart Cities. It's called Smart Cities. Dann Smart City konkret, eine Zukunftswerkstatt in Deutschland zwischen Idee und Praxis. And then Smarter Cities even. And then the next one, the Responsive Cities. So there's a lot of books coming out. These are just a few that are interesting. Expected outcomes, really. I mean, most of you are architects, right? Studying architecture or studying also fields in which you can design, in which you can bring in your own design thinking and your design how you want things to be. Doesn't have to be concrete and brick. So we want you to do wonderful things afterwards, that you take these principles of smart cities, of smartness, and bring it into praxis, like this. Someone has been there? No? This the fourth largest city in China now, in Shenzhen, was just completed a couple of years ago. And it's one of the most incredible airports, very, very smart, because the flow of people is done in a very unobtrusive way. You never have the feeling of being squished, which is also very important for smart buildings, for smart cities. And it's very efficient. Okay, then the exercises. As we said, we have one starting today, then the second one in 2 weeks, and the third one in 4 weeks. And we kept them simple because last semester we had 3, 4, 5, 6 exercises, and your colleagues were complaining too many. So we now do less, but and you have time to study them and do them. You will see what they are. And discussion. Let me just say a few words at the end. Smart cities are emerging in all parts of the world. They're already there, but just the labeling that they're being smart and they want to be made smarter is emerging everywhere. The term applies both to existing and new urban and urban-rural systems. So it's a system that becomes smart. Massive open online courses, or MOOCs, are an important vehicle to increase the smartness and responsiveness of cities. Because if you are in a MOOC in a city, you can directly and indirectly steer and change and propose the development of that city. And the degree of smartness and responsiveness of a city will determine its progress. So that's the first quick story. Thank you for not falling asleep. And now we come to Estefania.
Okay, thank you very much. As Professor Gerhard Schmidt mentioned before, my name is Estefania Tapias. I'm going to support you with the course, so if you have any questions regarding exercises or if you have any trouble, just send me an email. I sent you an email a week before regarding the registration of the MOOC. I just want to ask if anyone registered after that, and didn't receive my email. Anyone? Okay, so I will resend at the end of today's lecture. I'm going to resend the email with more information and a summary of what I'm going to tell you today. So this is just a summary of how our course is going to work with the MOOC. So if you can see here, the MOOC started already 2 weeks ago on the 12th of September, and it ends on the 14th of November. So it means it's shift with the course, and it started already 2 weeks ago. The lecture started today, 26th of September, and it ends on the 12th of December. What we try to do here is that what you're going to see in the lecture, it's going to be the content that the MOOC had 2 weeks before. So you will have already 2 weeks in advance, to say it like that, from the course. Is this clear, more or less? Great. Then what you what you need to be, what you need to know for the course is that we are going to have the same exercises from the MOOC, but in different weeks. So the first exercise we're going to have for the course is going to start today, and the idea is that next lecture, next week, we will have 3 volunteers, so you can raise your hand afterwards. And these volunteers are going to present what the participants of the MOOC did in their exercises. Very short presentation is just to communicate to us and also to your colleagues what people out there are doing with the same exercises you're doing for the course. So then the second exercise is going to take place on the 17th of October, actually that date is wrong, of October, and it's going to be on measurements and collection of data in the city. We will also have another tool online, and we're going to explain this exercise when the time comes. And then it's going to work in the same way the week afterwards. So the week after is going to be seminar week, so no course. But the week after that, we're going to have all the 3 volunteers that are going to present again what the participants in the MOOC did for this exercise. And then at the end, we're going to have the second part of exercise 1, which is going to be the second part of what you did already before. And it's with the same system. The day after, there's going to be all the 3 volunteers presenting what participants in the MOOC did for the course. So I highlighted here the important dates. So the idea is also that on the 3rd of October, the 31st of October, and the 14th of November, this date is actually wrong, this is October, all of you have to do a screenshot of what you did in the MOOC and send us a short description of why you did it like that, and send it to Professor Gerhard Schmidt and to me by email, and we just collect the information we have from you. I'm going to share this presentation also in the email I'm going to send. So now we go into the MOOC. So I've seen that there were a lot of hands when we asked who registered for the MOOC. So I'm going to go again through how you can enroll. So you go to the edX platform, the link I sent, I'm going to resend again the link, and then you go to register to the course, you go to enroll now. As you enrolled, you will have the access on the course, and then you will start seeing the weeks appearing week by week, the information for each week. So this screenshot, I took it today, so that means only in the MOOC we only have until week 2, but eventually every week there's going to appear another, here's already the week 3, it's going to appear the information for each week. For the first exercise, which is already in week 2, you go to compulsory exercises, here you click, and then you will find all the information about the exercise. And that's what I'm going to explain to you now. The first exercise, or the exercise that is going to run through the whole MOOC and through the whole course, it's based on a project from another chair in the architecture department of ETH, and this project is called Empower Shack. The idea of the project is that they were creating a project for urban development in a neighborhood in Cape Town. And this neighborhood has different problems because it's also, how is it called? It's not a normal settlement, but it's not either an informal settlement. Exactly, an informal settlement, and they wanted to create a better living situation for the citizens in this settlement. So they came up with solutions, and we also worked together with them, especially Artem, and we wanted to create a tool where they could find out the best fit for this settlement. So if you can see here, well, I don't know if you can see it right, this is the case study they worked on. And this is where they started researching on which is going to be the best situation for the settlement. If you want to know more about this project, we have a link here. It's also in the MOOC, the link. And then you can even see a video of how they are working with them, and also the different projects they've done with the citizens and how they interacted with the citizens, and the proposals they have until now. So the exercise, it's based on that project, and the exercise is for you also to go through the problem statement of this project and decide which one would be the best fit for the settlement. We also have a lot of information of how can you start and do it your own proposal, which like analysis or which situation you can based on. So there's a lot of information on connectivity, accessibility, all of these parameters that you can think about when you're doing your design. After that, we also have a platform where you will see all the exercises from different participants around the world. I got from Arten that we already have 200 exercises. So you will see the 200 exercises here. The idea of the platform is also for people to comment on other design proposals, and people started interacting. So you will start interacting with participants around the world. You will start seeing all their designs, and then start thinking and design thinking with them. So Artem is now going to go through the tool. She's going to show you. But before that, is there any question regarding the exercise? Okay, so if you have any questions, you can just email me back after I send you all the information by email. Great, so, Lawrence yours. Oh, just one last thing. Did everyone sign the attendance list? No. No? Who didn't? Great, so can you then pass it to them? Thanks.
Maybe I can just use this because I anyway need the mouse here.
The reason why I need you to sign is because that's part of the course requirements. So we need 80% attendance plus the 3 exercises so that you can get the credits for this course. That's the reason. So if you do that every week, you'll be fine.
So this is the front page of the site I developed for the students. As Stefania said, you can access this site via link on NDX. And if you want to participate in exercise, to do a submission, you must go through a link provided in that place, because this is the only way to get graded in NDX system. And first thing you can see on this site is the gallery of the submissions of other students. So now, as Stefania said, is about 200 of them. Some of them are just starting points, some of them are quite well thought already submissions. Every student can start work on the exercise and then save it and then continue work, and some students, for example, submitted the same exercise